Yes, here we go. A very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. I'm George Grant saying welcome to today's edition of Good Day Grenada, folks. Hope you had a great weekend. All set and ready to go, take on the world, take the bull by its horns. Yes, sirree. You do the best you can. This week, nation building. Once again, we're about to have a full week of work. Hang on there, Peter. Hang on there. Yeah, full week of work. We've had a short week, a couple of short weeks actually, and let's get back to the grind. Do our very best to make this country all that it can be. That does not mean that we should ignore all the hiccups we're having along the way. But, rather than just complaining about them, let's put our heads together and do something. Do something. Grenada is counting on you. And moi. Yeah. Let's not let her down. She's given a lot to us. A lot. First up this morning, Peter Bishop. He was in such a rush to say good morning and to let us know that he's first up this morning that he actually forgot to tell us where he is. Usually he says, Peter Bishop from Long Island, Here it is. Here he is, caught himself, saying good morning from Long Island on a very hot day. We're also second this morning, by the way, is Sherry Wilson. Good morning to you, Sherry. And Arthur Langine is saying good morning. I'm your teacher. What an honor. Thank you, sir. You're a very good student. Nice to have you aboard. Thank you so much. Benedict Cador is saying good morning. And, I haven't seen this one before. Anto Wandu, Jaundo, or Jaundo, I'm not sure, but he says I don't know what it is he's saying there. I can't read that. And Bernard Gilbert's also saying good morning. Hello, Sharon. Washed off all the salt water? Yeah, once again this morning. So far, so good. He was back on the beach with his friends, Carla and Sharon and Sharon's son. Had a nice, you should have seen the sunrise this morning. Sunrise. And we got tons of grapes this morning. The first tree I went to, there weren't any ripe ones on it. And I thought, oh my gosh, yesterday being Sunday, a lot of people on the beach, they probably, picked everything. And then Sharon called out and said, hey, George, see, over here. Went over. Tons and tons of ripe grapes. And something I noticed, I noticed this last week. Several people, when they go to the beach, they carry mangoes with them. Yeah, mangoes or various types of fruit. And they eat their fruit on the beach. Oh, what a life. Go to the beach in the morning, eat some fruit. Hey, that's the life, man. That's the life. Anyhow, Claude Pudna is saying good morning to you, Mr. Grant, in class. Let's get down and see what we got cooking here this morning over the next hour. This issue seems like it's going to be around for a while. The first item up this morning is captioned, another call for independent investigation into cellphonegate. Yeah. And this call came, was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday that the Senate met. And this came from the labor rep in the Senate. We also have the national report for you. And as always, on Monday mornings, we don't have anybody coming in here, so Georgie Porgy is on his own. And what he tries to do is either take something from Sunday's program, or in this case, we're going to take something from the sitting of the Senate last week. And this segment is captioned, "Temperatures Rise, yeah," during the Senate debate on water quality in St. Patrick and air quality at the Bus Terminus. If you're on Facebook, you've already seen the rundown, so you know what we're talking about. In the meantime, hello, my goodness, Mr. Darbo. How come you're so early this morning, sir? Not chiding you, just letting you know that we're very happy to see you here this morning, as early as you are. Good to have you. Chester Simon out there in Switzerland is also with us this morning. And Peter Belfon is saying good morning to you and your lovely people here on Facebook. See, I'm not the only one who appreciates you. Peter Belfon does as well. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you. Now, our first segment this morning. The issue of cellphonegate remained on the front burner during last week's Senate's debate, with another call for an independent investigation. The matter was again raised by Labor Senator Andre Lewis, but leader of the government business, Senator Simon Steele, while promising that an investigation is underway, he stopped short of providing the assurance that it would be an independent one. Folks, spend a few minutes. You know, I don't want to tell you what went on. You just look and listen and hear for yourself.
Mr. President, there's a matter I want to raise and to make a specific request. We have heard the admission from the Prime Minister and others concerning the aspect of what is commonly called now as cellgate. And we are concerned that we would like to see an independent investigation because we need to know what has happened. We need to know, for instance, that this $70,000 are approximately over a 3-month period. What is the extent? How bad the issue is? It is not necessarily going after one person. As a matter of fact, I do not share the view that this may be limited to an individual. But in order for us to know better, we think it is extremely important that an independent investigation be conducted into the matter. There may be leakages in the system. There may be leakages in the systems, and we need to be able to identify those. But I think it is unfortunate that focus seems to be placed on an individual. The problem may just be bigger, and because I do not know, and because the population is not sure, it would be best for us as a people, especially given our recent histories, given our recent past, so that we can maintain our confidence. Workers have made sacrifice. We have tightened our belts, and therefore we need to know that the sacrifices that we have made will not go down the drain. So we want to call for an independent investigation into this matter. There is a matter also in relation to, and it is linked to the first point I raised. And I want to preface what I'm saying by making the following point. I have absolutely no reason to doubt the integrity of the office holder that I'm about to speak about. But we need to be sure that whatever we do can pass the test of not justice being done, but seem to be done. I made a call here in the very early days when I just came into the Senate, which is not too long ago. And if my memory serves me right, I think Senator Steele, as the leader of government business, may have indicated, and I stand to be corrected, that it's a matter that the government will look into. We don't think that given the integrity in public life issue, that it is proper to have the close companion, fiancé, husband of any minister of government heading the financial intelligence unit. In other words, and I'll link it to another point Senator Diallo raised just now. I think that it is important to address this matter.
Mr. President, I just wanted to address a couple of points on the other side. The only thing I will say about the phone abuse matter is simply to reiterate what has already been said, and that is this is not about an individual. There was a systemic failure. Government has taken this very seriously. Government has also taken ownership of this matter. But it's also clear, Mr. President, that responsibility lies with all parties. Government, public service, and the service provider. And an investigation that is being carried out will identify exactly where those failures are and what needs to be addressed long-term moving forward so there isn't a repeat of it. But in the short run, in terms of identifying those persons who are not entitled to use a government phone have been taken off the system, been identified, taken off the system, and they will be returning those monies according to their bill, however high, however low. So that is being addressed. And with regards to the investigation in terms of how far back this goes, that investigation, Mr. President, will go back to 2008. Because we know this isn't something that's just popped up overnight. So let's see where that leads. But in terms of protecting public resources, it is a top priority, it is a serious matter, and it has been taken seriously.
Now, tell me, did you walk away from that piece with a confidence that Senator Lewis's question was answered? Senator Lewis wants to know that there's going to be an independent investigation. I didn't walk away with it. Anyhow, that's beside the point. Mr. Darbo is explaining that the reason why he's with us so early this morning is because there's no cricket on TV. Well, at least you're honest about that, so we know what sort of mischief you're getting into when you show up late. But good to have you, sir. Long time no see, Pele, long time no see. Looking forward to seeing you again one of these days. Fitzroy Adams says, good morning. George, as a mouth for the people, you have to continue talking about Cellgate. Well, okay, I'll say whatever I have to say, but I think what's important is what you have to say. What you have to say, and believe me, Grenada has had an awful lot to say about this matter. Lincoln Roberts is saying, good day, everyone. Loving home, sweet home. Lincoln, what an honor it was meeting you on, when was it, Friday night at Ricky's play? Oh, man, at last, face to face, bounce to bounce. Thank you very much. Nice to have you here. Looking forward to having you drop by here sometime before you leave. Oswin Lewis is saying, good morning, one and all. Well, good morning, Oswin. Kipling Francis says, as always, he's sending God's blessing to everyone, and he's asking that you share the live. He says, please share so that other hosts and reporters will learn how to be unbiased, fair, and straightforward. Thank you, Kippy. I'm trying. But remember, moi cannot do it without you guys. That's why I so enjoy sitting here. Earl Joseph Maitland. Hey, you've been off for a little while too, but good to see you. Peter Belfon says, is the phrase systematic failure a cloak of escape? Good question. Good question. I don't know. You know, we have a habit of having so many investigations in this place, investigation after investigation, but you never hear the outcome of these investigations. So what the heck is the sense of having these investigations? Who knows? I'm going to remain an optimist and hope that maybe this time we'll hear the outcome. It's going to be very hard for you and the rest of the public to accept the results or the outcome of that investigation because it is not being done independently. Okay? It is not. And that is unfair, and don't you forget it. This is a democracy. Well, supposedly a democracy. Now, where are we? Okay, let's take our first little break here, and then we'll come back with your favorite, the National Report.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Good morning, Grenlek Meter Reader.
Morning, Mr. Meterman. I'm glad I caught you. Last month, I got a very high bill, and I don't understand why.
Last month, we were not able to access your meter, so we had to estimate the bill. This will happen if we don't get an actual reading.
So, what can I do to ensure that my meter is easily accessible?
Well, you can get your licensed electrician to move your meter outside of the gate or directly in front of the house. That way, I'll have easy access and I won't have to deal with your dog.
Ah, Butch.
Yes, dogs can be a problem sometimes. On one occasion, I was attacked by a dog and police had to get involved. Customers who don't want to cage or tie their dogs should really move their meter and make it easily accessible.
Well, I'll consider that.
Thank you.
Grenlek, energizing our Grenada.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back-to-school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Welcome home.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and Food Fair Supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair Supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
All right. You guys are on the ball this morning. I see here that there are 4 very interesting comments. First of all, Peter Belfont says, the findings are archived. You know, I was talking about never ever hearing the outcome of these investigations. He says, the findings are archived for the next generation. Peter, that's the reason why I told you guys some time ago, I stopped holding my breath. I want to live a little bit longer, okay? Sawandi Fabio Sam, hey, don't see much of you, sir, but thank you for showing up. Says, good morning, George. Why not investigate further than 2008 because of what they claim to know? This is a diversionary tactic to try and share blame. Fraud, and he defines fraud as the misappropriation of public funds, is not a systematic failure. You tell him, Sawandi. Lincoln Roberts says, if culprits who abuse the cell phones have to pay back the money, if they can't, will properties be confiscated or will they be sent to jail? Linky, do like me. Don't hold your breath. Okay? Benedict Cador says, it sure seems that the government already knew all who had phones and what their bills were. Mr. Steele, how about publicizing that list and each person's responsibility for payment? Kipling says the outcome of any investigation is always a foregone conclusion. The only comfort we should cherish is that retribution is worse than obia. Time will tell. Kippy, important point there. You know, a lot of these people are doing things and they think they're getting away with it, you know. They think. Maybe they're getting away from you and me with it. Kippy, I know that you believe that there is a God. His eyes are wide open. Pilgrims, here comes your national report.
Forty-two businesses are now armed against money laundering and financing terrorism threats. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, August 16th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Grenada is on par with best practices in the fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. That statement was made by Attorney General and Chairman of the Anti-Money Laundering and Combating the Financing Terrorism Commission, Dashan Ramdani, on Friday. He was speaking at the ceremony for the presentation of certificates to businesses which registered with the Commission in accordance with Act 7 of 2018. The registration puts the businesses in a better position to be guided by the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, and the AML CFT Commission on ways they can avoid the threats of terrorism and other financial crimes. 42 certificates were presented.
For the period May to today, August, we have received 98 applications. Today we'll be handing out, I believe, 42 certificates for those entities which have registered. I must tell you that it is a sort of, your obligations having been imposed in 2014, what is happening now is that the Commission is now placed by your registration to assist you in complying with your various obligations, to know your client, to do due diligence in the person conducting business with yourself.
The Financial Intelligence Unit is appealing for more businesses to get registered as Grenada moves towards ensuring compliance and best practices to limit the risk associated with money laundering and terrorism. Head of the FIU, Superintendent Tafawa Pear, stressed the urgency of registration and accurate data collection.
It's not just an ordinary registration. What it really does is allow the relevant authorities to gather necessary data to determine what risk each of the entities pose to the wider AML CFT mechanism. Collecting such data would allow us to ensure that we can divide our resources and apply resources where necessary.
Mr. Pearce said registration is ongoing. He made a call for businesses to register and comply with the Act. Small Islands Developing States, SIDS, will join in the global call at the UN Secretary General Climate Action Summit in September. Climate Resilience Minister, Senator Simon Steele, said Grenada, along with over 30 SIDS, will present a package that will focus on highlighting areas of concern and projects that have remedial actions. It is anticipated that the forum will attract funding from international donors. Climate change and its effects are real and must be the focus of every country.
This is a global call for action. Greater climate action, greater call for the necessary resources, financial resources, for countries such as Grenada, those developing nations that are most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, the developed countries, the major polluters, who are at the forefront of the cause of climate change.
Senator Steele stressed the importance of Grenada and other developing countries having a voice on the international stage.
This approach has the full support of the Secretary General, and we anticipate that on the 23rd of September, Grenada, together with other small island developing states, will have an opportunity to have our voices heard on the international stage. And this event leads into the COP25 in Chile at the end of the year, which is the major climate negotiations, and will set the bar in terms of the level of ambition all countries globally should be working toward.
The UN meeting will be held September 23rd in New York. Still with news, the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands is concerned about the issue of predial larceny. The ministry empathizes with farmers whose produce are constantly targeted by thieves. As Karima Lewis tells us in this report, calls have been made for joint efforts to control the vexing issue.
The theft of agricultural produce, known as predial larceny, is an issue that has been affecting farming for quite some time and has been like a thorn in the flesh of farmers as they are constantly complaining of their crops being stolen and sold by suspecting characters. For many farmers, their production is their only source of survival and are many times left wanting because of the act of predial larceny. Part-time Soursop farmer Irvin George from Hope St. Andrew has for many years been a victim of this practice and has lost close to $20,000 in revenue as a result of his soursops being stolen.
We have not been able to meet our production from the last 2 years, and this is because of theft. People have been coming late hours in the night, early hours in the morning, and stealing our source. Right, in 2015, to date, we have not been able to meet the sales that we would have done in 2015, and that has dropped significantly.
George relays a recent act of predial larceny where he found close to 400 pounds of young soursop dumped on his farm after being reaped by thieves. He suspects that the mature ones were chosen out from the bunch with the aim of being sold. He appeals to persons to be wary of buying produce from individuals who are not farmers.
We need to speak to the people that buy the produce, because most of them are very well aware that the people they buy things from do not farm, they do not have land, and it's stolen produce. Right? For some of them, they make an arrangement to pick up the produce on the side of the road and elsewhere. Right? So this message goes out to first the people that buy the product. Secondly, we need more vigilance by the police. And we also need to put things in place to deter those persons who steal and those persons buy.
George further believes that stakeouts by the police could deter persons from engaging in this practice. Being empathetic to the plight of the farmers, the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands has been working assiduously to help curb the issue of predial larceny, from the instituting of a predial larceny task force to the introduction of cameras for the farms. However, Chief Agricultural Officer in the ministry, Daniel Lewis, says a collaborative effort is needed if results are to be seen.
We have to continue working with the supermarkets, hotels, restaurants, and everybody to ensure that the policy of not buying from unregistered farmers, people who are not registered, remains, and that's a good thing. And I know the Royal Grenada Police Force does the best, but we want to see a step up of those activities and such random checks and so forth to ensure that perpetrators do not really get away. We'd want to see the farmers themselves form themselves into watch groups. So you look out for me, I look out for you. And also even the community at large, everybody have their part to play. And for those people in the community who are aware of those people who are involved in that illicit activity, they should come forward. And because who they are, you see, crime could only be solved not only by the efforts of the law enforcement and so forth, but by the community at large. People have to look out for each other.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lewis.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The safety on our roads make this a major priority. Health of our people, a crucial necessity. Accidents happen when road users are either irresponsible or inconsiderate in one way or the other. Play your part. Reduce your speed. Be attentive. It is your personal responsibility. Let 2017 be the start of no more road fatality. Be safe, be seen, be smart. So let's wise up as a nation, get to your destination safe.
Welcome back. Police Welfare Association continues to give support to successful CPEA students whose parents are police officers. Every year, the welfare arm of the Royal Grenada Police Force supports the successful children of police officers as they prepare for higher learning. During the CPEA grant ceremony on Friday, ACP Michael Francois encouraged the parents to instill good morals in their children so that their contribution to society will be meaningful.
Now is the time to encourage them to be disciplined, respectful, hardworking, and honest. They do it the only way that you teach them. Parents, it is your responsibility to ensure that you show the right examples to your children.
Secretary of the Association, Woman Police Corporal Cordina McLean, said the welfare arm is critical to ensuring member and family care.
Being children of police officers, your well-being and interest has its place in our daily functions. Though it may seem indirect in carrying out our responsibilities to our members, we anticipate a rippling effect from your parents to you. This gesture here today is just one of the many ways the Police Welfare Association ensures member care, which also demonstrates the importance of our membership and their families in enjoying the benefits of their daily sacrifices.
A total of 62 students received support. Meanwhile, the Grenada Union of Teachers also held a ceremony today to reward successful CPEA students. 143 students are now beneficiaries of the GUT Grant Initiative, which is into its 14th year.
This year, as part of our continued effort to meet the needs of members, 143 students will benefit from this initiative. This was designed to assist members with the purchasing of books and uniform and other supplies as they make their final preparation for the start of the new school academic year. As part of our social responsibility, the GUT Credit Union recognizes the importance of higher education and lifelong learning.
That was President of the Board, Mrs. Jocelyn Latouche. She encouraged the students to use the initiative as a driving force towards a successful future.
We are fully aware that this journey may become challenging at times. However, we encourage you to persevere and not to be discouraged by the challenges you may encounter. Plan your options carefully, set realistic goals, and work towards achieving them. Compete with yourself and try to improve your performance gradually.
That story just ended the national report for today, Friday, August 16th. Let's recap the top story. 42 businesses are now armed against money laundering and finance terrorism threats. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis, saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Alrighty, folks. Now, I am really, really surprised that you guys haven't had anything to say about the GIS this morning. You could tell that Margaret's not here, because if she was, I can guarantee you she would have had something to say about, I think it was the first story where they, never mind. I do have something to say, and it has to do with the story on predial larceny. Troubling, troubling. The Sunday program I've been doing, we've been doing that for the last 14 and a half years. And I can't tell you how many times I've had police officials, government officials come and sit with me and talk about what they're doing to curb this predial larceny issue. It's going to be taken care of, right? Folks, it still goes on and on and on. And I fear that one of these days, I'm going to be sitting in front of my television set watching a story where some farmer has decided to take the matter into his own hands with a very negative outcome. It scares me to even think about that. All these years, I mean, this is not something that started last year. It's been going on for a long time. Why haven't we been able to do something about it? Please, please. Just digressing a little bit here. There's a note here from Sean in the Azores. Sean says, good morning, George. Inquiry, investigation. The Crown has never found a case against itself. Not for nothing did the British leave the Constitution and legal structure that protected them for so long against the injustice of colonization. Time for change. Absolutely. Yeah. Peter Belfont says, I am of the opinion that the government is made to feel comfortable with the kind of opposition they're getting outside of the Parliament. Remembering that we have an unprecedented consecutive terms of government without an official opposition in our House of Parliament. Just curious, George. Yeah. Okay, folks, now, break time, and then another interesting segment from last week's sitting. of the Senate. Hang in there.
Conveniently located in the Grandstand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am. But didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenada will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
GRENADA Community Partnership Initiative, supporting health.
To the individuals who will be using these vehicles to serve the people, please ensure while we are using these tools that we use these tools in a manner that we will all be proud of. To GRENADA, a long-standing partner with us, a true testament of what can happen when private and public sector work together for the benefit of the people.
GRENADA, energizing our community.
Studying too hard about back to school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
All right, here it's now 17 minutes away from the hour, 10 o'clock. Folks, a matter which has been in Parliament for several months now, the quality of water supply in St. Patrick. Well, that reared its ugly head once again in the recent sitting of the Senate. This time around, the inexperience of the young senator raising the issue was pounced upon by the leader of government business in the Senate. The private sector representative also admonished the young senator. And this all goes back to what we were talking about last week. The inexperience of the senators on the other side of the aisle. Look at it for yourself.
Mr. President, I want to reply and respond to the issue which I raised, Mr. President, the Nawasa issue. I raised this issue sometime in April, on April 24th to be exact. I called for an investigation into the water problem at St. Patrick, Mr. President. At first, it was said to me that the problem was with the storage unit. We later learned, Mr. President, that it was not with the storage unit at Mount Ruel, but in fact it was with the line, the pipeline, which connected Sotes and Mali, those particular areas. Nawasa has within, Mr. President, in the last month or so, begin rectifying that problem. And many of us can attest to the fact that we see projects ongoing up at St. Patrick, primarily High Street, Mali, and the Sotes area. I think
that replacement has been completed so far. Mr. President.
Sorry, I'm not sure I actually understood that response, because from NAWASA, they tested thoroughly. There was no water quality problem. So if you're saying you identified a problem and they're resolving it, there was no problem. So I think we're being misled here, or I'm misunderstanding.
Mr. President, on what grounds is the member standing?
Okay, I'll address it, but he's misleading the public. He's misleading the public. I'll address it.
Yeah, Mr. President, tell the member to take a seat. I'm getting to that. So, Mr. President, I am saying that this is what... Yeah, understood.
Well, the chair doesn't take instructions. It's the other way around.
Understood. I apologize, Mr. President. Understood. So let's move on in the interest of time. So, Mr. President, I am getting to that point to which I want to really talk in depth about what I have discovered thus far. Because, Mr. President, I called for an investigation in accordance with Section 6 of the NAWASA Act, right? And the two government senators in particular, Senator Steele and Senator Gawi, sought to respond in a way and downplay what I said. We called for the investigation, Mr. President. It was not forthcoming, Mr. President, quite after June. In fact, I had to do investigations on my own, and I want to report to the House what I found out. So, the problem which I reported, Mr. President, in relation to the health concerns, we were able to get external assistance, well, within the region, in fact, and diagnose this problem, Mr. President, outside of the numbers that NAWASA gave me, after the fact that I had to make a post on Facebook to get the information from NAWASA. That's the most important thing I want to state there. They said that they did the investigation, Mr. President, but we didn't receive any information of that investigation. So we were able to diagnose that the possibility of what was reported with the health concern could have been a case of excess sulfur in the water, and it was, Mr. President, as a result of the narrow diameter of the pipe, right, Mr. President, which caused buildup of the sediments, and eventually, Mr. President, that was flowing through lines. Secondly, Mr. President, we have asked NAWASA for the lead test. They have reported to us that they don't do lead tests, and they have also reported that lead pipes has been stopped, was stopped manufactured quite in the 19-something. We later learned, Mr. President, that the equipment to test for lead in the country up until the time was not working. Secondly to that, Mr. President, it was only up until 2014 that pipes which had lead sediment, in addition to copper, among other things, were stopped produced. And that happened as a result of the problem in the United States of America, Mr. President, where a similar concern or a lack of neglect on the part, based on what President Obama reported with the water system, similar problem occurred. So we were able to learn that. So precisely, in other words, if it was stop produced, right. So Mr. President, in other words, if the production of pipes was stopped in 2014, did we route up all the pipes throughout the country and replace them? No. Precisely. So Mr. President, that particular line, for example, has been in existence for a very long time, from what we discovered. Thirdly, Mr. President, we were able to discover that the meters that NAWASA was utilizing was in fact in some kind of way. Now, NAWASA would be the best people to explain that, because currently they are engaged in a replacement project of the meters, and we can confirm that if it is necessary, that it was accumulating dirt
and taking that dirt back into the line somehow. So it's not a cause, Mr. President, that it will kill anybody. And I just want to go back to the excess sulfur issue, because when we raised the issue, we made mention of the effects. And any one of us here can research it. We talked about the stench. It's called, in fact, the most specific term, rotten egg scent. Then we talked, Mr. President, about the diarrhea. We talked, Mr. President, about the constipation, but which is derived from dehydration. So any one of the members, Mr. President, can go and they can research that. Now, as I have said, I am not outside of the ambit of the law. The Section 6, the duties and responsibilities of the NAWASA Act dictate, Mr. President, that NAWASA investigate. But it only do not dictate that they investigate. It also dictates, Mr. President, that they provide to consumers a satisfactory level and quality of water. And if, Mr. President, for example, I am paying for water in Lavery, the quality of water that I am getting in Lavery cannot be brown, and I am being told it is okay. That is, Mr. President, in my view, grounds for maybe some lawsuit or some sort of thing. And we don't want to go down that route. So I'm just saying, Mr. President, in relation to this thing, it's much bigger than what was said and how the government side reacted. It is a cause for concern, and it is, in my view, in the national interest. This is why I raised it. I didn't accuse anybody, so to try to paint me as if I attacked NAWASA out of venom and spite, I don't have that. I don't even know half of the people there. But, Mr. President, as a member of the legislature in the Senate, we essentially have to be the oversight. This authority, in particular, NAWASA, is under the line ministry of the Ministry of Works. What I am saying is, if we have concerns, we must raise it, and certainly in accordance with the law, call for the subsequent investigation. So, Mr. President, I really would not reply to the individuals, but I have raised this issue and I have evidence. I have strong backing, Mr. President. We know of the situation there. We believe that it is being solved now. And take this, for example, NAWASA had to secure a loan, Mr. President, to be able to carry out all of these duties outside assistance from the line ministry or the state. So we must know and take these things. Mr. President, essentially, we raised this issue to make the call particularly for the establishment of a national water board. In Grenada today, NAWASA is the one testing and passing its own test. It is unsatisfactory in our view to have a system like that. There must be a middleman to dictate, for example, whether or not NAWASA is actually complying. They can't just be reporting to the minister and the minister report to them. That is something, a cause for concern. Because when we raise this issue firstly, we notice a lot of manipulation of the facts and information and shady operations that we were not satisfied of. So, Mr. President, I just want to make that absolutely clear. We are not satisfied with how the government responded. In fact, when we raised the issue, I was very pleased to hear Senator Steele said that he would look into the matter. That he would have looked into the matter one time. Mr. President, secondly and very quickly, I just want to raise the issue raise an issue that you are familiar with. Now, with this one, you don't need rocket science to check into it. Now, recently at the bus terminal, there was a construction of a wall. Mr. President, you are aware that the staff, certainly at your time as President General in Tau, the question, Mr. President, I'm referring to carbon monoxide poisoning at the bus terminus. It's not to raise any alarm, nobody is dying or anything like that. But, Mr. President, as the busmen use the terminus, part in the issue is the circulation of air at the bus terminus. So, I have noticed recently a construction of a wall now, added in proximity to the terminus, Mr. President, almost as if now it's going to squeeze the air into one place. I use the bus terminus, and every time I go there, in fact, it's getting worse. You're feeling extremely pressured and so on, and sweaty in some of the buses, right? If they put on the AC, well, you know, crap will smoke a pipe. But Mr. President, that is an issue that I believe we should look into and observe, because we can use, or should have used, for example, maybe an extractor fan or two, so that you could extract the air, the carbon monoxide air that is trapped beneath on the first floor of the bus terminus, to try and ventilate the area a bit better. And thirdly, Mr. President, I want to raise an issue that some parents have asked me to raise. Now, they have expressed concerns over the cost of books. They have said that the cost of books have, within at least in the last 2-3 years, increased substantially. They would like to know if it is a case that, well, who really dictates, for example, the syllabus or the books that are used. Because if every year you have to, I looked at a video very, very recently, in fact, and a parent was explaining a particular textbook, mathematics. The cover is different, the colors that are used are different, but the information is the exact same. In fact, even the author is the exact same. And what some of the parents are saying is that they have to be purchasing new books every time. So in the past, where you'd have hand-me-downs and you could refurbish them, you can't do that as easy as possible. And it's costing them, a great deal. So, Mr. President, that's an area, because we talk a lot about the education, that is an area that I believe we should look into. Again, Mr. President, in relation to the water issue, we didn't raise the thing out of context. It's within the ambits of the law. What we are calling for is the establishment of a national water board. NAWASA cannot be the one testing itself and passing a test. So I have nothing personal against anybody at NAWASA, but I think, Mr. President, as the member with responsibility for climate resilience would agree, access certainly to clean drinking water is and should be always a priority. Thank you.
Yeah, Ali?
Yeah, Mr. President, thanks. I didn't plan to talk on the adjournment, but seeing that Senator Redhead made some issues with water, and I sit in my another capacity on that particular board, I think there's some things I need to clear up for his own edification that he seems to be misleading the public on. So let's start with the issue of sulfur in the water and lead in the water and so on and so forth. What is important to note, Mr. President, that whenever we're talking about those chemicals in water, if they exist in our water, by the way, is the concentration levels that exist for it to be harmful to anybody. You cannot talk about a chemical being present and not talk at the level of concentration. We just talked about carbon monoxide in the first level in the bus center. If there's wind flow moving the carbon monoxide, it cannot be harmful to people. It's the concentration and the buildup and your level of exposure to that particular concentration of that chemical that could impact a health issue. So you can't divorce the two. Right. So, but that is the facts. That is the scientific facts. Concentration affects your health. And when we talk about lead, and you need to talk about the parts per million. And I'm not disputing that NAWASA may have all lead pipes in the system, but the issue is, if the lead has to leak or leach into the water, we need to understand at what concentration levels, because our body requires some level of lead for its balance, chemical balance. Is when you have lead in a particular high concentration level, it will cause health issues. When we go back to the sulfur issue, and he's talking about stench, stench from sulfur comes from a gas called hydrogen sulfide, H2S. And you can only get a buildup of H2S when there's a breakdown and deterioration of bacteria in the system, and H2S have to build up their concentration level that will affect you. And it has to be in a closed system. If it is in a liquefied system, as in what he's talking about in water, it is not H2S. It dissolves and becomes an acid. Right? And the issue is whether the sulfuric acid concentration or a lesser form of the acid is in concentrations that will affect you. Right. So that, I just want to talk about that. Then we talked about the meters. NAWASA has no project currently in place for replacement of meters. You're wrong, Ever. NAWASA have an ongoing replacement of meters that are faulty. And we have meters in the system from time to time develop issues, whether it be from dirt accumulating in the mechanism to record what is going on, and as a result we have to change out the meters, or some other malfunction in the meter. Something might break in the meter, but we have no single project in place for a replacement of meters. So that is incorrect, as you stated. Brown water, etc. in the system. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, authority like NAWASA, whenever we have breaks in the system, whether it be a 6-inch pipe to a 4-inch pipe to a half-inch pipe, depending on where it breaks, some dirt will get into the system. There are times when the water level, if we have too much rain, in NAWASA, too little and too much is a problem. If we have too much rain, we get sedimentation at the dams, and when we start putting out the water and treating the water to go out, we will get some brown water in the system. We have to shut down the system and wait until the settlement and the sediment settle off. If we have too little and we draw too much from the dam, we draw at a level where sediments may be, and you may get brown water in the system. Again, we have to shut down the system and deal with it. But it is not a situation where NAWASA will go out and produce brown water. It affects our system. When we can't send water in the pipe, we're losing money. It's as simple fact as that. So we don't want to send bad water in the system or discolored water in the system. The last thing about test, and NAWASA can't test himself, and we need to get a water board and so on. What Senator Redhead is not understanding, NAWASA don't test water and do the test that we do by Vike. We have international standards that we follow. So even though we are doing the test ourselves, the issue is what standards are we following? Are we following our own made-up standards, or are we following international standards that require the water to be at a particular level when it comes to coliforms and other bacteriological levels? And we also have systems in place. If we pick up that there's a concentration of coliforms that is outside the international standards, and by the way, we use international standards dictated by United Nations, so that our quality of water meets international standards. And when we test to ensure that those levels that's set by those international organizations, we are below, and if we go above, we have protocols and systems in place to deal with the issue. So the thing about having an independent person to do the test, yes, you may say that will bring more transparency to the system, but the same independent people will use what standards to test? They start to go back to the international standards and also using. They ain't going to no other standard, because that is a system set for all water authorities in the region and worldwide. There are international standards that we all have to test our water towards. So probably Senator Redhead wasn't clear on certain things. And just to deal with the issue that you raised concerning the people, I think it was in, when NAWASA did the investigation, and unfortunately I had a report here, so we went and spoke to the people, and none of them reported what Senator Redhead reported. We also provided a report to Senator Redhead on the 13th of May, dealing with the issue, and we did tell him that we don't test for sulfur in the system, and he said he would get back to us. Apparently he didn't get back to us on this. So there are issues when it comes to what it is he is raising. That, and of course, Mr. President, there is the issue of lead and what lead does, as I raised before. And we also have to say that lead doesn't naturally occur in our system. So that, for example, you may argue that when the runoff comes from the rain and it falls and it goes into our dam system, you may say that, okay, it picks up lead along the way and we have high concentrations of lead in the system, because all our water comes from runoff, with the exception of Karakou and so on, where we're now doing desal. But the majority of Grenada water comes from runoff. But we have no major area in Grenada with lead deposits that we know of and we are aware of. And where we take our water, way up from high elevations, we know that the quality of the water there in the river systems are some of the best water that we could get. So I don't know if that helps. I hope that Senator Redhead is a little more informed. And I'm just told here that our standards also meet WHO standards for testing of water. So, so I just say that to say that, unfortunately, I had to stand up to talk about this one because we do have, and just to be clear, Mr. President, and I'll sit, Mr. Husband said that they have no lead pipes in the system, none. He just clarified that to me. So just, right.
Of the world and the installation and use of lead pipes, right? Because the production of lead pipes could be happening, but whether or not we are installing lead pipes or whether or not we had lead pipes installed and that there are still lead pipes on the system are two completely different issues. One don't necessarily lead to a conclusion of evidence of the other. So that's why I sought that clarity. Yeah.
Well, Mr. President, I just want to say that I would not seek to pick a fight with the representative of the private sector. I think right. And so I'm just going to say that I think he clarified a particular issue. But Mr. President, let me just say, the issue with the sulfur, what I understood, I understand, but I will just quickly clear that up. Don't worry, don't worry. Mr. President, from what we discovered, and I'm not accusing NAWASA of that happening, I'm saying these were possibilities. Now, they have said to me that they investigated a particular area, but the same people down at Sortes, they expressed concerns about the quality of water just the same. They went to a particular area during the day when nobody as much is at home, and they spoke with somebody. I don't know that one person or two people alone could have just said, well, we ain't get nothing. It's just like the lady at Mount Rich, right? So, Mr. President, what I'm saying is that from what we heard is that when the chlorine mixed with the sulfur, it sort of accentuated. Peggy's Whim Dam was used for that line in High Street first. And Peggy's Whim, anybody who knows it, has a lot of sulfuric concentration and so on around the area. So I'm not accusing to say that people putting that there. When it was moved to the Mount Ruel Dam, which utilizes a lot of chlorine in it, Mr. President, we were told that it could have been combined to an extent and it could have helped to accentuate the effects or impact of what sulfur water would do. I have never said that it is something that NAWASA is causing, but what I asked them to do was to look into it because people had expressed concerns over the quality of the water and they wanted to know that it was safe, Mr. President, to consume, among other things. They have done that practically. But, Mr. President, I am saying that where we thought the issue was with the dam, it was not. And in fact, Mr. President, there was an issue with the diameter of the line, which could have helped to contribute to that. In terms of the build-up, Mr. President, of sediments within the line, etc. So, when I express the concern about the lead, it is not to say that lead water is running through the line. It is only to say that because of that buildup or because of the blockage of some sort of the line, that is a possibility. That's what I said. In fact, that's what I have written here. Possibilities. I never accused them of it, but I'm just saying these are scenarios, what I found out in my whole course of investigating the issue separate to what NAWASA provided. Thank you.
It's necessary, as we build a new and youthful group of parliamentarians, there must be some flexibility. But on the adjournment, it is not really a debate in the way in which I have allowed it to continue. But as I said, it's all encouragement. But you see, we have the liberty to speak, but we also have the responsibility to speak responsibly. As I've said before, when we are discoursing in the House, we are not just speaking between ourselves. The nation listens to this discussion. And if truth be told, more people listen to the Senate than they listen to the House. And that's just a fact, and there are good reasons for it. So because we are speaking not to ourselves and to others, we have to be responsible in the things that we see. Now, when you put forward a proposition as a possibility, that is something completely distinct from what a reality might be. All of us can die right now. Yes? But if that was to occur, it will trigger an investigation. So the possibility of having lead pipes, or the possibility of lead pipes being still produced, does not mean that there are lead pipes in Grenada. And when we speak like that, because we are speaking to many people on the outside, people can have a wrong interpretation of what is being said. And that is something that, you know, we need to guard against. The other matter is, on subjects like these, it would be best to come to the House by way of a motion. Because by way of the motion, you could talk as long as you wish. And if you move on the motion, you get to talk twice. So you can expand on all of your points. But when you come under the adjournment, the time for the adjournment is how many minutes? It's 10 minutes. Now, I gave you more than 10 minutes because it's a learning process. I mean, you know, you've raised a concern, and I think it's a concern which people should be concerned. I drink water too. I'm not a bottled water person. Most of the water I consume is Nawasa's water, right? I'm not in the trendy thing of all these bottled waters and so on. Fellas, I'm going to Andal, and guys will ask me for $5, and when I give them the $5, are you drinking Nawasa water? They are using my $5 to buy bottled water. But it's a trend, you know, it's a trendy thing. So I'm just making that point again to be lighthearted. But I just thought that I would, you know, make that interjection because then it leads to a debate, and then a member of the board feels now he has to defend his reputation because any assertion against Nawata is an assertion against him, even if he sits in the private sector. So I just thought I would make those comments without participating.
With regard to the comments from Senator, I'm glad I didn't respond to you at the start, and I think the guidance and the counsel that's been provided by Senator Diali and the President, Senator Redhead, strongly suggest you take that on board. Words matter. What you say in this House, through you, Mr. President, matters. And you need to choose your words carefully. And let us not mistake your ignorance on a matter for mischief making. Because it could be construed as that, Mr. President. And when we're talking about the health of the nation, and we want to draw attention to certain issues, let us do it in the right way, a responsible way, Mr. President. And there are channels. And there was something I was going to read out because I got a report on the interactions with Nawasa, the dates, how they responded, how you responded. And from that report, it's not reflective of what Senator Redhead reported here. But again, I'm not going to unravel that. Regarding first of all, going back to quality, the standards that are used to measure water quality are WHO standards, World Health Organization standards. You used words such as manipulation of facts, shady operations. Those are dangerous words. dangerous words, Mr. President, and are not reflective of the transparency and the cooperation that NAWASA has, and the patience that NAWASA has shown in accommodating Senator Redhead on this mission. If there are issues, if there are genuine issues, they want to know about it, we all want to know about it, and we want them remedied immediately. But if this is simply mischief-making, or based on an individual's ignorance, then we need to cauterize that. There is a place, there are opportunities if you have genuine concerns. They will listen to you and they will respond where and when appropriate.
All right. All right. There you have it. An experience. An experience. Folks, I'm going to spend a few minutes now taking a look at some of the comments you posted during that segment on social media. Yes. First of all, Arthur Langine says that this morning on WeFM, a gentleman called and complained about how stink the water is on mornings. Yeah? So says Arthur. John Bruno says, we still waiting on NAWASA to address the water quality here. I think that's in Carriacou. Why do we have to continue to pay for water that is not potable? Arthur Langine responds by saying, because they have the government at their back. Benedict Cador says, while I understand the underlying issue with the water, I am confused by this presentation. I rest my case, sir. Peter Belfont says, I had my reservations in allowing such young persons at the particular time. Yeah, Peter. Sean says, such a shame to hear this young senator. If you're going to bring a topic like this to the Senate, then you must have specific facts, scientific facts, not stories about thin pipes. When it comes to water and public health, we must be precise. Thanks, Sean. John Bruno says, we have a serious issue here with hypertension, which was raised recently by Dr. Martin Comijan. Dr. Martin Consuming, C-O-N-S-U-M-I-N-G? He says, ionized water is a major contributor to this issue. John Bruno says, I would like to hear the goodly senator, as a chemical engineer, address our issue here with the high acidity of our water. He also goes on to say, why are they not following the international standards set for desalinated water? Are we too small to be of concern to them? Then Peter Belfont, I would imagine this came after Senate President Chester Humphrey put his 2 cents in. Peter says, I agree with you, President of the Senate. He also goes on to say, it's not just having a representation in Parliament, a representative in Parliament. Yeah, how true. Peter Belfont says, Mr. Steele is in a kind of attacking mood of humiliating rather than mentoring or encouraging. But then again, if you're thrown into the ocean, you're expected to swim. Yeah. Peter, that was clear because for those of you who heard the program on yesterday's edition of Sundays with George Grant, Steele went after this guy big time too. There's obviously some sort of animosity between the two. Very, very clear. And if you missed that, you can also go to the gov.gd website. Is it there? No. I think it's on the Hard Talk website. You'll find the sitting of the Senate in 2 parts. Yeah, the entire thing's there in 2 parts, so you can check it out yourself. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for the time being. Time? 20 minutes past 10. 20 minutes past 10. Folks. Time for Georgie Porgy to pull the curtain down. So I'm going to let you go. But first, an inspirational word. This comes from Matthew 24, verses 9 to 14. And as I read this, I can't help but ask myself, who is this for this morning? Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. Check it out yourselves. Matthew 24, 9 to 14. Now, that's going to do it for us on this, what is it today? Monday morning. How could you forget? First day of the week, man. You have a great day, a great week, and a great life. Thanks for joining us. God bless you.